replacing the Articles of Confederation with the United States Constitution brought stability to a young nation claiming to be rooted in equality and freedom. But in doing so, the founders missed a golden opportunity to rid this nation of the evil George Washington called the only unavoidable subject of regret: the enslavement and brutalization of hundreds of thousands of children, women, and men. Between 1791 and 1803, the French sugar-producing island of Saint-Domingue exploded. Enslaved people revolted on a massive scale, unleashing a wave of destruction and death. When all was said and done, an efficiently fierce army of enslaved people had destroyed France's most elite soldiers and seized control of the entire colony. Instead of waiting for a gradual freedom that might not ever have come, they took a more immediate approach, and a new democracy had been born in the Western Hemisphere. They called it Haiti. Shockwaves could be felt throughout the slave-holding world. Could the same thing happen in these United States? This question weighed heavily in the minds of American presidents for decades to come. This fear would guide their actions, their inactions. Aside from defending the British soldiers after the Boston Massacre and becoming America's loudest champion for independence, and helping to bring about the two-party system that we Americans still use to this day, the second president, John Adams, is well known for a hatred of slavery. I have never owned a slave. My opinion against it has always been known. Of those who labored on the Adamses' 140-acre Massachusetts farm, some were white, some black, and all paid. Adams, despite being opposed to slavery, did not support abolition unless it was done in a slow and gradual way and with much caution. Like Washington, Adams was of the opinion that a suddenly free African American population would be problematic, if not dangerous. It is probably safe to infer that those African Americans who slept on dirt were sold away from family, beaten and abused without notice or reason. Safe to assume that to those who felt the weight of the chains around their necks, wrists, and ankles, and whose average life expectancy was somewhere around 21 years, the idea of gradual freedom felt like an eternity. In the hearts, minds, and dreams of enslaved people, of any person, nothing but immediate, instantaneous freedom would do. While Adams did write that all people were born with natural rights, he stopped short of declaring all men were born with equal powers and abilities. However, on the topic of slavery itself, Adams never wavered. Slavery is an evil of colossal magnitude.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Their griefs are short-lived. It appears to me that in memory they are equal to whites, while in reason they are much inferior. In imagination, they are dull and peculiar.
These are the words not of two very different people. They are the words of the same man, Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States. Candles burn, lighting the way for busy workers. hustling through a basement tunnel from the frigid ice house at one end to the sweaty hot kitchen on the other. Above this secret world of nonstop bustle sits an elegant dining table, around which important guests chat and swap the latest gossip. Their host, Thomas Jefferson, opens a secret panel on the side of the fireplace, placing into it an empty wine bottle. Moments later, from the same panel, he pulls a fresh bottle of chilled wine. Like magic. The dining room guests gasp in astonishment. The enslaved workers a floor below gasp in exhaustion. This was Monticello, the mountaintop mansion of Thomas Jefferson, a mixture of ingenuity, innovation, invention, with barbarism, cruelty, inhumanity. Over the course of Jefferson's life, he owned over 600 people, at least 6 of whom could have called him Dad, but they dare not. The cruelty of Jefferson is often overlooked, replaced with stories of Jefferson's flowery words and his love of liberty. But the stories of the whippings of 10, 11, and 12-year-old boys in the plantation nail shop are well documented, along with the merciless beatings of those who dared steal themselves away. Jefferson often found himself in debt and on hard financial times, but he found he could always find money through the sale of people. All the while, Jefferson spoke publicly about his wish to end slavery, calling it a moral evil and a hideous blot. When one of Jefferson's old friends from the Revolutionary War died, he left Jefferson a generous gift, a small fortune of $280,000 in today's money. The sum he left was to buy the freedom of every one of Jefferson's enslaved workers. In this way, Thomas Jefferson's friend hoped to allow Jefferson to pay off debts while at the same time free himself of the wrongs of slave owning. After all, this is what Jefferson wanted. He had heard Jefferson speak often about the evils of slavery, and Thomas Jefferson had even described slavery as a crime in the Declaration of Independence, though that version never made it to King George. This was Jefferson's chance to put things right. Thomas Jefferson refused the gift. Had his friend called his bluff?